Fox News political contributor and former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush. Karl, good to have you here tonight. We said in the intro that there is a war going on inside the Beltway. Do you think that's an overstatement?
Well, no, I don't. The president is embroiled in a war with his detractors. The Democrats on the Hill, in particular, are in high dudgeon, hysterically screaming for special prosecutor or a congressional investigation or impeachment. I thought it was really interesting. Today, the latest is, did the president involve himself in obstruction of justice? Now, we don't know whether or not he said in that conversation, do you think you could let this thing with Flynn go? We don't know whether or not it's accurate that the way that Comey remembers it is accurate. But it would seem that if the president said that and Comey thought it was incorrect or improper to be asked that, he should have said to the president, Mr. President, with all due respect, I don't think that's the kind of question you should be asking me. And if we want to talk about obstruction, and saying drop the investigation, let it go, is an obstruction. What about President Obama publicly saying that Hillary Clinton had not done anything wrong while the FBI is investigating whether or not she had done something improper? If it was improper for President Trump to say in the Oval Office, hey, can you let this thing go, I think you have to apply that same standard and say it was inappropriate for the former president to, while he was in office, while the investigation is underway, to say, hey, she hasn't done anything wrong, in essence signaling to the FBI, drop it.
He also did the same thing about the IRS, saying that there was nothing there, essentially not a smidgen of corruption while that investigation was in the middle of going on. But Karl, just speak to the elements that we have so far in this story. I mean, if the president, as you say, if it's true, Jim Comey, should have called him on it right away, should have alerted the Department of Justice if he felt that he was sincerely being asked to table an investigation. But there is no information that he did that yet. And in fact, that would be illegal. It would be his obligation if he felt he was truly being asked to table this investigation. He would have had to let someone know, correct?
Yes, and if he thought it was getting into the gray area, then the best thing for him and for the president is for him to say, Mr. President, better that you never ask me those kind of questions. Better that you never raise the issues in that way. So if it was in the gray area, he had an obligation to say something to the president, I think. If it was not in the gray area and it had crossed his line, then he had an obligation to say something inside the Justice Department to raise it to his superiors in the chain of command.
Well, what do you say to those who look at this and they say, look, look at the tarmac conversation. Republicans were outraged that there was any discussion that went on, and we don't even know what was said between Loretta Lynch and former President Bill Clinton. People who say that there's not the same standard being applied to both sides.
Sure. No, look, he's a Republican. He was elected with an R behind his name. Who thinks that he's going to get the same treatment that either Bill Clinton or Barack Obama got? I mean, let's wake up and live in the real world. This is something that every Republican president has to deal with, and that is that the press is against them. In this instance, they are really against him because he has offended them deeply. He has picked an argument with them deliberately. He insults them regularly, and they're people, and they react to it in the way that people normally react to it. If you push them, they're going to push back. And so they're pushing back with every bit of muscle they got and looking for everything that they can attack him with. And there's a dual standard. Let's not kid ourselves. One standard for if you're a Democrat, another standard if you're a Republican.